शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। आराध्य भगवान आसना प्रजबधू वर्गेण वा कल्पिता श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेम पुमार्थो महान्। श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभुर्मतमिदं तत्र धारणा परः अनार्पिता चरिचिरा करुणयावतीर्णा कलौ समर्पयितुम् उन्नतोज्ज्वलरसां स्वभक्ति श्रियम्। हरिपुरट सुंदर द्युति कदम्ब संदीपिता सदा हृदय कंदरे स्फुरतु वह शची नंदना। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद। जगत मंगलाद्वैत मंगल गुणधाम मंगल चरित्र सदा मंगल जारना। Hare Krishna, we'd like to welcome all of our YouTube live listeners, our listeners over Facebook Live, and our dear listeners over Zoom. Welcome to all of you to this day 45 of Sri Gauramrita. Before we proceed, we'd like to announce and congratulate the participants of the quiz session from session 44. We'd like to congratulate Hari Prasad Prabhu, Mother Flavia, Vrinda Gopika Mataji, Radha Mataji, and Ranjani Gopika Mataji. Congratulations to all of you for participating in the quiz session from session 44. So today in session 5, we will continue to describe the transcendental treasure trove of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Today we'll discuss how Sri Gaura Sundara, he celebrates the Vyasa Puja ceremony for Lord Nityananda, and specifically how Sri Advaita Acharya receives special mercy of Lord Gauranga. And then we'll conclude today's session by describing the Phala Stuti, the benefits we receive by listening to these transcendental pastimes of Sri Gaura Hari. In his Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Leela, chapter 6, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, he very wonderfully describes how Sri Gaura Sundara Rai, how beautifully he celebrates the Vyasa Puja ceremony for Sri Nityananda Ram, for Avadhuta Mahashai, Sri Nityananda Ram ki jai. Just looking at this beautiful, most enchanting form of Lord Nityananda, we experienced how the devotees were just drowning in oceans and oceans of ecstasy. Just seeing how beautifully Sri Gaura Rai and Sri Nityananda Ram, they were experiencing unlimited bliss. meeting each other for the first time in this current personalities. So all the assembled Vaishnavas in Navadvip who were at the home of Sri Acharya, who witnessed the beautiful and the blissful meeting of Sri Gauramrita, they were actually very elevated souls and they were unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Personality of God. These devotees, they became totally immersed in the nectar of Krishna consciousness.
In fact, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, he was extremely joyful and he kept looking around at all the Vaishnavas. And it was such a scene of extreme ecstasy that tears of happiness cascaded down everyone's eyes. Seeing this ecstasy, Lord Vishwambhar, he spoke to Lord Nityananda Prabhu, my dear Nityananda Gosai, listen, where shall your Vyasa Puja be performed? Tomorrow, there is full moon, and it is on this day that Srila Vyasadeva is worshipped. It's Vyasa Purnima. So you may choose anyone's home, and we will make arrangements to worship you on Vyasa Purnima, on the birthday of Lord Vyasadeva, because you are the Adi Guru. You are the original spiritual master. You are Balaram, the Adi Guru. Nityananda Prabhu, he could understand Lord Vishwambhar's mind. So he took Srivas Pandit by his hand and he smilingly he said, my dear Vishwambhar, I will have my Vyasa Puja in this Brahmana's house. This Brahmana is none other than Srivas Pandit. Then Lord Vishwambhar spoke to Srivas Pandit. Well, now you have a very heavy responsibility over your head to organize the Vyasa Puja of Srila Nityananda Prabhu. So Srivas Pandit replied, no, my lord, there is no botheration at all. By your grace, everything we have in this house, if you need the paraphernalia, clothes, grains, Brahmin thread, ghee, everything is available here. And tomorrow, it's my great fortune to be hosting Vyasa Puja, and we will all witness a very, very wonderful Vyasa Puja.
Sri Vishwambhara Rai was very pleased with Srivasa's reply, and all the devotees became ecstatic. They became very jubilant. Oh, a festival is coming. So then Sri Vishwambhara Rai, he said again to Sri Nityananda Ram, he said, listen, Gosai, my dear Nitai, let us all make preparations. Let us go now to the home of Srivas Thakur. And Lord Nityananda very much appreciated Sri Vishwambhara Rai's words, because Nityananda Prabhu did not want to give up the association of Sri Vishwambhara Rai. And everyone immediately proceeded to the home. From Nandanacharya's home, they came now to the home of Srivas Thakur. And then Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Nityananda, when they were accompanied by their associates, they were looking exactly like Krishna and Balaram. All the devotees, they were just astounded that when the two lords were dancing and leading the way from Nandanacharya's house, and they were going to the home of Srivas Thakur, by this time the sun had set. It was evening time. And all the devotees, they were able to envision that, look, it is none other than the two transcendental divine brothers, Sri Krishna and Balaram, just as they are in Gokul. And they are right now here, manifested in Nadia, in front of us as these golden mountains. They are none other than our worshipable Lord, Sri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Please notice the beautiful form of Krishna and Balaram. Look how elegantly Krishna is standing, putting his weight against the Kadamba tree. That tree is actually a very special tree. If you look closely, it's not just Kadamba, but it is actually mango tree. There is mango fruits that are hanging. So Krishna is putting his back against this tree, and Balaram, he is equipped with his beautiful weapon of Haladhara. He's having the hala, the plow in his hand. He has the buffalo horn tucked in his beautiful waist. And Lord Balaram is looking so exquisite. And so are the beautiful forms of Sri Sri, Gauranga, and Nityananda. Let us meditate that this beautiful form of the Lord be ever enacted in the region of our hearts.
So then everyone felt current of joy run through their bodies as the Lord entered the doors, and he ordered the doors to be closed. Only friends and relatives of Srivas Pandit and devotees were allowed in there. Then Lord Vishwambhar signaled, and everyone began singing bhajans, kirtans, and the world outside Srivas Pandit's house just faded into oblivion. Everyone was so absorbed in Krishna consciousness. This chanting was so ecstatic, and it befitted the occasion preceding the day of Vyasa Puja. And both the lords, Gaura and Nitai, they began to dance ecstatically. They were surrounded by so many devotees who were dancing also. And between Lord Nityananda, Lord Vishwambhar, this bond of love and affection exists. And now that they are dancing together, each of them were immersed in the thought of the other. Nitai was not thinking, look how nicely I'm dancing. He was thinking, look how wonderfully Gauranga is dancing. And Gauranga Mahaprabhu was thinking, look how wonderfully Sri Nitai is dancing. And everyone was experiencing some extraordinary joy. They began to roar out loudly. Some of them falling unconscious. They could not restrain the tears. And they were all experiencing symptoms of ecstasy, shivering, crying, falling unconscious. These are the ecstatic symptoms of the soul in loving devotional service to the Lord. And both the lords, they were dancing, lost in ecstasy. And in the mood of brotherly love, as they were dancing, they would try to catch each other's feet. And they were overwhelmed in ecstatic happiness. They rolled on the ground, just forgetting that they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But without thinking of any customs, they were just immersed in pure love of God. They could not even sit still. So many Vaishnavas, they would tell them, hold them down. But all the Vaishnavas were completely unsuccessful. Because who can hold the personality who holds the entire universe? On the head of Nitai, Shesha, Ananta Shesha, the entire universe exists. And both of them were just lost in the nectar and started telling, chant, chant. And then their whole bodies were drenched with tears of happiness. In fact, one time Srila Prabhupada told this pastime of this man who was telling his wife, who was on her deathbed, saying, please chant, chant, chant. And she was saying, no, I can't. So Prabhupada said she has time to say can't, but she can just say Hare Krishna. But people don't have that much time. So the Lord was always yearning for the association of the personality of Nityananda Prabhu. And when he was just immersed in an ocean of endless ecstasy. This dancing, Lord Chaitanya Vishwambhar's dancing was so enchanting that he would sometimes touch his head with his feet. He would lift his feet so high while dancing, it would touch his head. And when Lord Nityananda Prabhu danced, it was like there was an earthquake. And both of them, both the lords, they danced in ecstasy. Then Lord Vishwambhara sat on the seat of Lord Vishnu, feeling in the mood of Lord Balaram. And then to Nityananda Prabhu, the Lord said, "Bring me plow, bring me plow." And at the Lord's request, Lord Nityananda stretched out his hands, and Lord Gaurachandra received the plow in his hand. And some saw that both the lords, they were going through these motions just empty-handed, giving the plow, but the plow was not there. And Lord Gauranga was taking the plow, but the plow was not there. It was not there, visible to everyone's eyes, and they felt these are just empty motions, but actually they were exchanging the spiritual weapon of Lord Balaram, the Haladhara, Hala. Then the Lord assembled and began chanting the holy name. And
it is said that some devotees, they were not able to see the Lord exchanging these weapons of the plow, but some of them, being empowered by Lord Nityananda, they were able to see. Actually, they were able to see the golden plow of Lord Nityananda when he was handing it over to Lord Caitanya. Some fortunate devotees, Vrindavan Das Thakur mentions that some fortunate devotees were able to see that their both lordships were exchanging this golden plow.
so Srivas Pandit, he was the preceptor for the rules of worship for the Vyasa Puja. He received instructions from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and executed them. And Srivas Pandit's house was transformed into spiritual world of Vaikuntha as a continuous sweet kirtan was going on. And then Srivas Pandit performed the ceremony according to the strict injunctions of the scriptures, which Srivas Pandit was very well versed of. And he gave Nityananda Prabhu a garland of fragrant flowers. And Srivas Pandit said, "Oh Nityananda Prabhu, please take this garland and offer your prayers and obeisances to Srila Vyasadeva." In fact, the scriptures, they instruct that Srila Vyasadeva should be garlanded while he's being worshipped. And if Srila Vyasadeva is satisfied, then all of our desires will be fulfilled. And the more Srivas Pandit spoke, the more Lord Nityananda continued repeating, "Yes, yes." But he did not pay any heed to his words. He held the garland and he muttered something softly underneath his breath, which no one could hear, just looked all around.
So what was happening over here? It was the next day, the Vyasa Puja had started, and Srivas Thakur had all these arrangements, and he gave this garland in the hand of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu is in deep ecstasy, and Srivas is saying, "Nityananda, please offer this garland to Vyasadeva." And Nityananda is saying, "Yes, yes, yes," and he's not doing anything. He's just muttering something in his own way. He's muttering something. He is not doing in action. He is not doing what Srivas is telling him to do. So Srivas Thakur was completely confused. Why is this Mahashai, Avadhut Mahashai, acting like this? So then Srivas Thakur went to Gauranga Mahaprabhu and reported this matter. And he said that your Shripad, this Nityananda Ram, he's not wanting to worship Vyasadeva. What to do? I gave the garland in his hand and he's holding and standing. He's not giving it to anyone. He's not offering it to Vyasadeva. So Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu immediately came to the presence of Nityananda Prabhu and said, "Nitai, listen to me. Offer this garland to Vyasadeva and let's worship him." And as soon as Nityananda Prabhu saw that Gauranga Mahaprabhu was there, he immediately placed the garland on Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's head. The fragrant flower garland on the Lord's curly hair made a beautiful sight for everyone to see. And then Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he manifested another garland and he put it on Nityananda Prabhu. Like we see how here the two personalities are garlanded so exquisitely with these fresh forest flower garlands. So Lord Nityananda actually worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of his heart, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, as the original Vyasadeva. And then Sri Gaura Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he made Lord Nityananda sit down. Nityananda Prabhu was in an ecstatic trance. So Lord Gauranga just made him sit on a beautiful throne and performed the foot bathing ceremony of Avadhut Mahashaya Sri Nityananda Ram. And then he smeared sandalwood paste all over his divine body and offered a very beautiful garland of Kadamba and Champaka flowers to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And then Srivas Thakur performed beautiful arati to Lord Nityananda, while Mukunda led ecstatic and soft kirtan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then Lord Nityananda, he came out of his ecstatic trance and he began to cry profusely. Tears were just flowing down from his eyes like rivers. And then Lord Chaitanya said to everyone, the Vyasa Puja worship has been completed. Now continue Kirtan. And devotees very jubilantly, they received Lord Chaitanya's orders, immediately began to loudly chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And both the Lords, Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya, they danced like two mad men. And they just had no contact with the material world. In this way, Vyasa Puja, the Vyasa Purnima, was celebrated with great joy, singing, and the Vaishnavas, they even became more inspired, more jubilant. Some of them danced, some of them sang, others were rolling down on ground. They were catching each other's feet, of course. There have been incidents when in ISKCON we've been trying to imitate Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, grabbing hold of each other's feet. Some devotees have actually fractured their foot because of that. So we should be careful not to imitate, but we should follow their mood of offering respects to the Vaishnavas. Then the kirtan ended. The Lord sat down with all his devotees and he spoke to Srivas Pandit. Quickly bring all the Vyasa Puja offerings. And Srivas Pandit, he arranged for the prasadam to be brought in. It was offered. Then Lord Vishwambar himself distributed prasad to all the devotees. And all the devotees were in bliss because they were personally being served by Supreme Lord Gaura Chandra. And the Lord actually called everyone from inside and gave them prasadam with his own hands. When they received the prasadam directly from the Lord, they felt we are so extremely fortunate. Even great personalities, Brahma, we are fortunate like them. And even the servants, the maid servants of the house, They are receiving such great spiritual treasure. Srivas Pandit is so glorious because in his house, such spiritual activities had occurred.
So this is how Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he performed the Vyasa Puja ceremony for Sri Nityananda Avadhut Maharshi. Now in all of this, if we remember, a few sessions ago we were discussing how Sri Advaita Acharya Prabhu, he wanted Lord Chaitanya to accept that Advaita Acharya is the servant of Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya would always give him respect because he is the uncle spiritual master, Guru Varga. He is the god brother of Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master, Ishvara Puri. So Lord Chaitanya would give him respect like his own spiritual master and address him as Prabhu. And that would be not tolerable to Advaita Acharya. He would say, no, 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 my Lord, you have to accept me as your servant. And therefore, remember we had said that Advaita Acharya had left Nadia secretly and he had gone to Shanti. And when he went to Shantipur, Chaitanya Bhagavat tells of a very sweet pastime. There are actually two sweet pastimes about how Advaita Acharya came back. One of them comes when Advaita Acharya Prabhu, after Nityananda Ram came and joined the Sankirtan pastime. That time, the next day after Vyasa Puja, Lord Chaitanya came to Srivasa's house and called his brother, said, Ramai, come here, Ramai. And then he sent Ramai to Advaita Acharya and said that, I have come here because Advaita Gosai has called me and now he is sitting in Shantipur. Tell him to come here and come and worship me. So then Ramai went and he gave the order of Lord Chaitanya. And then Advaita Acharya along with Sita Thakurani comes to Nadia. And then they stay in the home of Nandana Acharya. Lord Chaitanya understands that he has come and therefore he comes and then worships. Advaita Acharya and Sita Thakurani, both of them, they come and worship Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. But however, this desire of Advaita Acharya to, that the Lord should accept me as his servant. I don't want the Lord's respect. So he would always want that. But therefore, Advaita Acharya again went back to Shantipur.
So he would always be very, very humble and address Advaita Acharya as his own spiritual master. Advaita Acharya didn't like this because he knew Nimai is my worshipable Lord and I want to accept him. I want him to accept me as a servant, not as a master. He used to call him Advaita Prabhu. Prabhu means master. So Advaita Acharya would not like it. So he left Nadia. Secretly he left, went to Shantipur. And in Shantipur, Advaita Acharya, he started preaching the Mayavada philosophy. The same philosophy which Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu said, Mayavada bhashya sunile hoy sarvanash. If anyone even hears the Mayavad philosophy, he is destroyed. Hoy sarvanash. Mayavad philosophy says, of course, hears means hears submissively. Now that he was preaching to everyone, that bhakti is all right, but without jnana, without knowledge and impersonal realization, bhakti has no meaning. Ultimately, God is impersonal. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Brahman is everything. And he does not have any eyes, he does not have any legs, he does not have any hands. His form, his pastimes, everything is Maya. They are all illusion. Only thing is, the purpose of life is to enter into Brahman and then we can realize the Supreme. And he was very, very seriously, boldly preaching these things. And Haridas Thakur would be sitting in the audience, listening to Advaita Acharya, and he would laugh. Haridas Thakur would laugh because he knew Advaita Acharya does not believe in this philosophy. But he is up to something. I don't know what he's up to, but he is doing something of a trickery. And then the word spreads, and the news came to Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu that Advaita Acharya is preaching Mayavad philosophy. At first he didn't believe, but when so many devotees were telling him, he told Lord Nityananda, Nitai, let us go to Shantipur. I want to see by my own eyes, otherwise I will not believe this rumor.
This old man, this Advaita, he's gone mad. He's gone crazy. Why is he talking all this Mayavad? Let us go. I have to teach him a lesson. If this is true, Advaita has had it. I'm going to really teach him a very big lesson.
So they started walking from Navadvip to Shantipur. And on the way, they came to the house of one sannyasi. And both Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda, they were very young. And so they offered respects to this sannyasi, and the sannyasi gave them the benediction. He said, please come to my house, to my kutir. And why don't you have some nice fruits, nice prasad? You can take bath in the river Ganges. And when you return, I will arrange everything. So Gaura and Nitai, they went to take their bath. They came back to take prasad. And just as they were finishing their prasad, the sannyasi told to Nityananda, Nitai, Nitai, do you want some bliss? Nityananda Prabhu, he was like, bliss? Yes. You want some bliss? And Nityananda Prabhu had traveled all over India. And when he heard bliss, he understood he means liquor. And it is said why this story appears in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Because they wanted to show how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a fallen sannyasi who is a drunkard, Lord Chaitanya will give his mercy to even such a person. He will give his mercy to that kind of a person also. Because Lord Chaitanya is willing to be kind, generous, even to the most fallen, most degraded. But as we are about to see, he would not so show such mercy to those who are misconstruing the Vedic knowledge in the name of Mayavad philosophy. Any impersonalistic conclusions he would not associate with them. Vrindavan Das Thakur says, this fallen sannyasi in whose house Gaur Nitai had prasad and who used to take liquor, he was a drunkard, he was a woman hunter, but still Lord Chaitanya stayed at his house and accepted some fruits. But the Mayavadi sannyasis in Varanasi, even though he lived in Varanasi for a month, he would not look at them. Even though they would constantly be inviting him, he would never go to where they were. Anyways, both the brothers, they ran from the sannyasi's house. We don't want this kind of bliss. And they ran away. They floated down Ganges, started swimming all the way to Sham.
And because when the sannyasi asked, Nitai, Gaura, do you want some bliss? Gaura said, yes, I want bliss. Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he was very innocent. He didn't know. And then Nitai said, hey, Gaura, don't say yes. He's meaning wine. You want liquor? No, let's. And then Gauranga said, Vishnu. And then both the brothers ran away from there. They jumped into the Ganga and they swam all the way to Shantipur. And as soon as they arrived in Shantipur, Advaita Acharya, he got the news that Vishwambhara Rai and Nityananda Ram have arrived in Shantipur. And Advaita Acharya, he had a huge pandal set up. And there are thousands of people who were listening to Advaita Acharya speak Mayavad philosophy. And Advaita Acharya was nicely speaking about Yoga Vashishta, and he was going on and more loudly, more emphatically, he was preaching Mayavad philosophy to make sure, very loudly he was speaking. And because he wanted to make sure that Lord Chaitanya hears what he is speaking, that he is hearing the Mayavad philosophy very enthusiastically and with a loud voice. Advaita Acharya was speaking all Mayavad conclusions. And when Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu came in and he heard Advaita Gosai speaking all this, his eyes, Mahaprabhu's eyes became red with anger. And in a loud voice, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu told Advaita, you are propounding speculative knowledge or devotion. Of the two, which is better? Which one are you speaking about? Advaita Acharya said, well, it is an obvious fact, supported by every scripture, that speculative knowledge is superior to devotion. And when Lord Chaitanya heard this, he jumped on the raised platform. He grasped Advaita Acharya and he brought him to the outside courtyard. He threw him to the ground and he began to beat him up, beat him up, beat him up. And he was beating him so much that Sita Thakurani, Lord Nityananda, everyone came and they were trying to stop the Lord. Please don't beat him, don't beat him. He's an old man. He's going to die. Don't beat him. But Mahaprabhu was not stopping. He's saying, you're going to beat like this? You're going to do this? You're going to preach like this? I will not leave you. I will not leave you, Advaita. And Advaita Acharya, he was dancing in ecstasy. He began to dance and he was crying out loud. And that he said, he was dancing and said, oh, today my life is successful. Today you have accepted me as your servant. And today, like a thief, I have stolen the position of being your servant, my Lord. So like this, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, as soon as he saw Advaita Acharya responding in this way, immediately Mahaprabhu became very embarrassed. And actually even little Achyutananda, the little 6-year-old son of Advaita Acharya, he also came and said, Mahaprabhu, please don't hit my father like this. And immediately Lord Chaitanya became pacified. And then Advaita Acharya said,
previously, my dear Lord, you were worshipping me, you were honoring me like a senior. But today you have punished me and you've accepted me as your servant. All of my desires are fulfilled today. And then when Lord Chaitanya heard this, he became so embarrassed. And in this way, the loving reciprocation between Advaita Acharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, it continued. They all had wonderful kirtans and had nice prasad together. And Lord Chaitanya said, I knew you cannot preach this Mayavad philosophy. And Advaita Acharya said, yes, my Lord, I just did this to get your mercy so that you can treat me as your servant, not as your master. So it is said, whoever hears this wonderful celebrations of the Vyasa Puja of Lord Nityananda, he's immediately released from bondage. And these confidential pastimes, these topics of Lord, as they are displayed by Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they are known to a very limited few. Because this deep, beautiful relationship of Gaura Hari, Advaita Gosai, they are all very extremely confidential. So anyone who listens with faith and devotion, Lord Chaitanya accepts that soul as his eternal servant and directly engages in his own loving service. Ekhane rahila grantha Amrita lahari Badan bhore ekbar Bolo Hari 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 Hari.
So today we continue to pray for His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu and for all the devotees of Sri Mayapur Dham who are currently undergoing quite a bit of ill health. We continue to pray for them. We pray for Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Mataji. for the mother of dearest Jigna, who is actually doing much better now. And we also continue to pray for our dearest Kirti, Mother Bhashini Mataji and family, for dearest Anjudi and family, for dearest Mother Flavier and family, for Lavanya Mataji and family, for Radha Mataji and family, for Keshavi and her family, for Shweta Manjari Mataji and all of her group members, for Nutan Purohit Mataji and her family. And we also pray and wish a very, very, very happy birthday to our very dear Rajeshwari. She is part of the team that we have, and she is the one who sends out the spiritual bites every day. So we wish dearest Rajeshwari a very, very happy birthday. May Shri Shri Radha Madhava shower their choicest blessings upon you, Rajeshwari, and all glories to your amazing services. Hari Bol.
Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Acharya Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastimes Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Vyasa Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Before we open up the lines, let's just take the questions for today. First, what was the occasion on which Lord Nityananda's Vyasa Puja was celebrated? And where was it celebrated? Second, what mood did Lord Chaitanya assume? And how did Lord Nityananda facilitate the pastime? Haribo. Third, what did Lord Nityananda do when Srivas Thakur gave him a garland? Fourth, how would Lord Chaitanya address Advaita Acharya, and why would Advaita Acharya not like it? Fifth, where did Advaita Acharya go, leaving Nadia? Who did Lord Chaitanya send to fetch him? Sixth, why did Advaita Acharya start teaching Mayavad philosophy? Seventh, why did Lord Chaitanya accept fruits at the home of the fallen sannyasi? What does this pastime demonstrate? Eighth, why was Advaita Acharya punished by Lord Chaitanya, and what was his reaction? Ninth, what is the Phala Stuti of hearing the pastime of Lord Nityananda's Vyasa Puja and the confidential pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya? Haribo, thank you so much, dearest Divyangi and Prem Vikas Prabhu, for the fantastic quiz questions. Now let's open up the lines. Garima.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam, all Krishna Prabhupada and Gurudev. Today was a Nectarian class, and I loved how when that Brahmana told him you want bliss, and Anita told Gauranga, no, don't say yes, And today I love this class. I want to show you that I drew this Krishna and painted it.
So beautiful, Bacha. Please take a picture and send us, okay?
I've not took. Okay, I've not took out the tape yet, so it's. I put a tape, but I didn't take it out yet, so it looks messy right now. But when I send you the picture, it will not look messy. And
Yeah, it will never look messy. What you do is always very pretty.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Haribol.
Thank you for the class. Hare
Thank you, Beta. Haribol.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we can end here. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavad pranams. I have, it's a beautiful class, and I felt like I could see Nitai and Nimai exchanging the garlands, and it was described so nicely. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. And I want to wish happy birthday to Rajeshwari Mataji. I see the spiritual bites every day, and I see how she connects the names from Krishna Lila to Chaitanya Lila. So my question is how, where this information is revealed and how this connection is revealed. So that is my question, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
It is from the Gaura Ganadesh Deepika. This book has all the confidential associates. This book is revealed, all of their names.
And this book is written by Srila Kavi Karnapura, which is actually his original name was Puri Das. He was the son of Shivananda Sen. Shivananda Sen was the devotee who used to sponsor
and
organize every year the yatra of devotees from Bengal to Jagannath Puri to meet with Gauranga Mahaprabhu, to participate in the Rath Yatra. So this Shivananda Sen, he would, from going from Bengal to Puri, there were a lot of tolls in between, a lot of, in the night, devotees would be walking. So in the night, they would have to take rest, then prasadam, all those arrangements. It would be almost like a 15 to a month journey. And all of those arrangements, Shivananda Sen would just sponsor, and he was very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And his son he had three sons. One of his youngest sons' name was Puridas, who actually became very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And one time, Lord Chaitanya actually ordered that whatever my remnants should be given to Shivananda Das and his family. No one else was allowed. I mean, in fact, Mahaprabhu would be very humble. He would say, no, please don't take my remnants. And he would get offended. But here he gave that mercy to Shivananda Das and family and Shivananda Sen and family. And honoring all that Mahaprasad, Puridas became Kavi Karnapura. And he wrote this Gaura Ganodesh Deepika. He was revealed who in Krishna's pastimes is who in Gaura's pastimes.
And Kavi Karnapura has written esoteric, very, very esoteric literatures. Ananda Vrindavan Champu, very, very confidential books relating to the, very esoteric pastimes of the divine couple have been revealed in great sweetness by Kavi Karnapura. He's a fantastic, fantastic author and a poem writer, empowered by Lord Chaitanya himself.
Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol. And again, happy birthday to Rajeshwari Mataji. She puts so beautiful spiritual bites every day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my respectful humble obeisances. The class was so good. Every day it's very nectarian class, 6:30 morning, 6 o'clock for us. Our day starts with the nectarian pastimes of Gaurachandra and Nitai. Thank you for sharing such a wonderful pastimes, Mataji and Prabhuji. And happy Ugadi to you and all the devotees also. Happy Ugadi. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, Prabhuji.
Happy Ugadi to everyone. And also happy Navratri. Navratris are starting from today. So wishing everyone happy Navratri also. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Mataji, Namaste Pranam, all Krishna Chila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for a wonderful class, Prabhuji and Mataji. It was so nectarian. Sometimes I miss out a little bit here and there. Krishna makes noises. Sometimes we sit down. He was sitting nicely today, seeing the PowerPoint presentations on and off, and then coloring his cows. Mataji, Prabhuji, I have a question. I always have this question that what was the good fortune and piety of Pandavas to get association of Krishna and Draupadi? Would you enlighten a little bit about that? Like, what did they do exactly to be like in the battlefield also in universal form, how Krishna tells Arjuna that both the sides will be killed except you Pandavas. So what was their piety or good fortune, or what devotional service they performed to be even in a close association with Krishna?
Well, they were surrendered devotees of Krishna. They were friends with Krishna. They were cousins in one sense because they were the sons of Kunti. Kunti was the Pua, or the paternal aunt of Krishna. So they, in that sense, they had that favor. Of course, Kansa was also uncle of Krishna, but he also did devotional service in an unfavorable way. He also would always keep thinking of Krishna in unfavorable way. But the Pandavas would think of Krishna, play with Krishna in a very favorable way, as a friend and as a devotee. So they had very devotional qualities, because of which Krishna was also attracted to them. And of course, Arjuna was one of the best friends of Krishna, and he's an eternal associate of Krishna. He's a Nitya Siddha. He accompanies Krishna in every universe, and Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. The situation is different in each universe. In this universe, the situation was Mahabharata, and Krishna told Arjuna. In another universe, situation would be completely different, but Krishna and Arjuna will be there, and Krishna will speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna specific to that situation, but the message would be the same, that perform devotional service. Here, the message was according to the situation, but essence was that perform bhakti. Similarly, there also, essence. So they are eternal. I mean, Arjuna is an eternal associate of Krishna. And because of the relations that they had, their devotion to Krishna and to all the devotees of Krishna, like Bhishma Pitama, he was a great devotee of Krishna. They were servants of the servants of Krishna. So Pandavas were dear to them. So if we become dear to devotees, we automatically become dear to Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate your help and enlightening. Thank you so much for everyday wonderful lectures and taking us to the whole different platform of Gaur Katha. Like I always mention that I've never heard Chaitanya Charitamrita before, and this is our first time, and it is so beautiful. Like, let me be honest with you, we have Gaurnita deities at home, but But I personally feel that I have always not been very attached to them. But after hearing the pastimes, I see a slight change. I see so much change. So I'm very grateful to you for that. Thank you so much. Because sometimes I used to ask myself and like, but I have deities, but I'm not attached. And of course, I'm still not attached. I'm not. I'm very, very, very far. But I see a change. Like I go sometime, even if I get 5-10 minutes in DT room, I go and talk to them, and at least So I'm very, very grateful to you. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much, Ampaka.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Srila Prabhupada.
चंद्र प्रभु की जय
Namaste.
हरि बोल
Ananta Koti Vaishnava.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Happy Ugadi Mataji Prabhuji.
Happy Ugadi, Lavanya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madhurama. Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी प्रभु जी कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम
Hare Krishna Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna Kamakshi Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Very good, very nice. Today Bengali Happy New Year or tomorrow it is? Today or tomorrow?
Bengali one is coming on the 15th of April.
15. Happy New Year to both of you. Missing you all, Saturday, Sunday, no class. I feel so, missed out, like,
Yes.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for your wonderful session. Hare Krishna.
We will answer your questions very shortly, Prabhu. Please.
No
forgive us.
problem, Mataji. No problem. Take your time. Take your time.
Thank you so much.
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you.